What's your read about Sarah Palin?
Well, I sat next to her once, thought she was beautiful, and I think she's very happy in Alaska, and I hope she'll stay there.
Boy, there must be something liberating about being a former First Lady who can speak her mind.
Nobody does the backhanded compliment quite like Barbara Bush. Top Line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABC News Top Line. I'm Rick Klein.
And I'm Amy Walter.
Every day at noon Eastern, we're right here with the latest in politics, everything you need to know. It's twitter.com/Rick Klein, twitter.com/Amy E. Walter. Amy, it's Thanksgiving week, but politics does not slow down now, does it?
No, it doesn't. And Rick Klein, happy birthday to you, and I'm very excited for your new present.
Yes, this
Look
is
at
fun.
This.
Great way to get me on Twitter, right here.
So you will know where it's coming from, everybody out there in TV world. All right, my first top line today. Don't touch my junk. The TSA alert is out, and everybody is talking about it. Today, John Pistol, the TSA administrator, said that he is working to make pat-downs as minimally invasive as possible. But on the eve of the first anniversary of the Christmas Day bomber, Rick, can they really afford to not do something like this?
You know, this is so fascinating because it's really the first time since 9/11 that we've seen a recalibration in the whole debate between security on the one hand versus privacy on the other. This big thing, it seems like it's a mini rebellion going on at many airports across the country coming on this big travel week. The administration, I think, is a little bit caught on its heels on this. Obama, just over the weekend, Hillary Clinton as well, kind of saying, well, maybe we need to re-examine these things.
You really do wonder what would happen if this were a Republican administration. Would they push back much more and just say, this is what we're doing?
Exactly. Next up today, Hillary Rodham Sherman. Okay, well, maybe not exactly, but Hillary Clinton was asked about the potential for a 2012 or 2016 run on Fox News. Take a look at what she said.
So you're done with elective office?
I am. I am very happy doing what I'm doing, and I am not in any way interested in or pursuing anything in elective office.
This may quiet it for about a minute, but there's enough. She goes on just enough to say that the Hillary watchers will say, well, you know, she didn't really rule anything out there.
She didn't rule out being recruited.
Ah, there you go.
And we know how that works. All right. Angle of repose. That's right, everybody. Sharon Angle telling folks in Nevada, local paper out there, that she may be interested in 2012. Remember, John Ensign is up for re-election. She could primary him. She could also run for a House seat because there's talk, of course, of Dean Heller, the congressman from up in Reno, running against Ensign. However, a political story that came out this weekend made it very clear that if she does run again, she's going to need a serious campaign team makeover. It was a harsh look at the team behind Sharon Angle and basically blaming them for losing this race.
That's right. And she has no allies in the National Republican Party, probably even in the Nevada Republican Party. A lot of skepticism about her ability to run a campaign when you whiff on a chance to take down Harry Reid like this.
That's right.
And finally today, of course, it's Palin-palooza. Sarah Palin, once again, the talk of Washington and beyond. Bristol Palin is in the finals of Dancing with the Stars tonight and tomorrow. And in addition to that, it's a book tour. Sarah Palin's new book is out. Of course, it's already destined for the bestseller list before a copy has been published. You've got the tour. She'll be in Iowa over the weekend, by the way.
I know. And, you know, and South Carolina she'll be headed to next. Even Mitt Romney giving her a shout out over tweet today saying he hopes it's a bestseller. So as usual, she is dominating the week in a very slow news week, which is pretty smart.
There you go. There you go. I'm sure Mitt Romney meant every word of that tweet. We begin today's broadcast with a special guest. Jackie Gingrich Cushman joins us from New York. She is the editor of a brand new book called The Essential American, which takes a look at some of our founding documents and more important documents in American history. I want to talk through, first of all, the premise for the book here. You find some things that obviously there's things like the Gettysburg Address that people are very familiar with, but some more obscure texts that you think are quite important.
Well, yes, you're exactly right. In compiling this work, we not only wanted to focus on the text and the documents that we all know, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, but also the lesser well-known. And one of those, for instance, is the Remember the Alamo speech. And if you go back and look, I did an introduction for each of the speeches. If you go back and look at the history and what was happening, it really gives you a context of what was going on in our nation and why Texans really are as independent as they are today.
You know what I found really interesting too in your foreword, you talk a little bit about the fact that many of these speeches, when they were delivered, were not popular. Many of them were panned, which really begs the question of why we, in our Twitterific society, are often so quick to pan something. Are we really just you know, essentially missing the bigger picture?
I think that's a wonderful question. And I'll give you an example. You're right. When Reagan gave the speech where he said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall, it was panned. It was panned by critics. It was overlooked by the press. Richard Cohen said that President Reagan was out of touch. He was, you know, out of vogue. But 29 months later, the wall fell. And part of what I wanted to do when I compiled these documents and speeches is to really give people, give Americans their national story so they can understand what's happened, what did we learn, what have we gone through. Because I really do believe that America is exceptional. But we need to understand our foundations and the stories that we've gone through to understand why we're exceptional.
I want to ask you about the broader context that this is publishing in. The Tea Party movement has been the talk of national politics recently, and sort of embedded in that is a recommitment to first principles, a rereading of the Declaration of Independence, of the Constitution. How do those texts and some of the texts you reference fit into this the rediscovery of America's founding?
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's very important today that we not only say how we founded, and the Declaration of Independence clearly is in this book, The Essential American. But if you look at the Declaration of Independence, it's very different from other founding documents. It's different because it says we are founded and our Creator has given us rights, okay, given individual rights. And the individuals loan those rights to the government. That's very different than other governments. It's not that we're exceptional people, because we're people just like everybody else. It's that our system of self-government is exceptional.
All right, well, we can't let this interview go without asking you, of course, about your father, former House Speaker Newt Gingrich. The conventional wisdom, at least here inside the Beltway, is that he's all but running. What do you say?
Well, you know, I think Dad's been very upfront and very transparent about where he is. He's thinking about it very hard. We spent 2 hours recently together, just the two of us. And trust me, ever since I had 2 grandchildren, it very rarely happened, so you know he was serious. He is very serious. I think he's very concerned about where we're heading as a country. All my life he's been very involved in politics, and I think he'll take it to heart where we are, and in February, March, you'll have your answer.
What do you make of the kind of extraordinary journey he's been on for the last couple of decades? It must be something to watch. I mean, you see him going from the highest of the highs to the lowest of the lows and leaving Congress, and now to have this resurgence, it must be satisfying.
Well, it is, but let me give you some background. As you know, I mean, I grew up with him. He's my dad. But when people say, what's it like to grow up with your father so famous, I say you have to remember when I was young, he lost twice. The first 2 times he ran for Congress, he lost. So he wasn't famous. And when you live in a small town and you lose a congressional election, it's not fun and you're not famous, okay? Let me just say. But he persevered. So I guess my dad's great story is one of perseverance. And when you look at our nation, that's one of the great beliefs we have when we say our Creator gave us rights. Believing in a Creator leads to optimism. It's because you believe what could happen, what might happen. And that's what Dad's really all about.
All right, we just also, given that it is Palin-Palooza Day, she's coming out with her own book. Do you want to give us any insights of what you think her chances would be as a presidential candidate and her role in the Republican Party?
Well, I think Palin's very interesting. She excites the crowds, she makes people look and listen, and I think that's great. And I'm all for people getting involved and excited. I think we're not going to know for a while. My guess is she'll probably run, and I think she'll make the primary run very exciting. But what you're going to see over the next 18 or so months is a conversation with Americans about America, about what do we need as a country to move forward.
And getting back to your book, because I'm struck by the way the Tea Partiers reference so many of these founding documents, do you see kind of an emerging narrative that goes back to the founding that's going to play out in 2012 and beyond?
I think so, and I think the important part is that we do need to look at our foundation. It's important to understand that we're different, and the Constitution is important. My background's in business. I have an MBA in finance and a CFA, and the Constitution's like our operating document. It says how are we supposed to operate? What are we supposed to be doing? I think it's very important that we look to our roots before we go forward.
All right, Jackie Gingrich Cushman, the new book is called The Essential American, an interesting read, bringing together some of the texts from the nation's founding, including some obscure ones. Love it. Very good stuff. Good for the history buffs. Thank you so much.
Thank you.